Welcome back and welcome to another book versus movie video. As always, these videos are spoiler free and are just my thoughts on how the movie compares to the book. I understand that when you make a movie of a book, different things have to change, and a book takes you 8 hours to read and a movie should take only an hour and a half to watch. So I get that things change around, but I always like to share my thoughts on how it compares to the book. So today I'm going to be talking about The Art of Racing in the Rain. I ended up listening to the audiobook of this one because I'd seen the trailers for the movie, and so decided I wanted to make a book versus movie here to tell you about my thoughts on the similarities and differences. I enjoyed the book. The audiobook is good because obviously the book is written from the dog's perspective, and so we have the dog narrating it. So I think it works really well as an audiobook. The audiobook has a little bit of music between the different sections as well, which is always very interesting. The dog being a narrator, I think, works really well as the movie. I think they've adapted it really well because there are moments in the book where the dog is obviously trying to be kind of sarcastic or funny, or just very kind of like a dog doesn't understand why humans does this kind of thing. And it can be done through like the setting, it can be done using visual things in the film, and so I think that really brought the narration to life and brought the book to life in that aspect. I thought that the casting of Denny and Eve was very good. Obviously I read the book after seeing the trailer for the movie, so unfortunately they were the pictures that I got in my head, but having read the book I can see why they chose the people that they did. It was interesting watching Zoe kind of grow up over the course of the film, because that's a very visual thing, whereas in the book it's just like, okay, there was Zoe and there was baby and then she was a little girl kind of thing. So that kind of expands on that bit of the book a little bit more. The actual racing aspect as well, I think, works really well as a movie. I think it almost works better as the movie than it does as a book, because we can talk about Denny telling Enzo about life on the track. We can talk about Eve's parents being worried about him on the track or him coming back, but Enzo wasn't always at the track with him. Whereas in the movie, we can see Eve watching or Enzo watching Denny on the TV, and so we can see Denny at the track, whereas in the book that's just and then he came home and told me about what happened at the track, or I was watching from the side but I wasn't in the car, whereas obviously the visual you get on the TV is you get the view from inside the car as well. So I think that worked really well, and almost that works better in the movie than it does in the book, because it builds more of an atmosphere, whereas the atmosphere in the book is more about Eve and what happens in the second half of the book with the court case, whereas a lot of the film is to do with the actual racing, and so it almost like goes in a different direction because that's a very visual thing, whereas the book goes in the direction of the court case because that's a very emotional and tension building film thing. So the actual court case itself, I'm not going to say what that's about, obviously, because that is a spoiler. There was one particular aspect of the court case which comes up in the book, which wasn't touched on or dramatized at all in the film, which I completely understand why they would choose to do that. And I think that it was a good choice to make. I enjoyed the fact that it didn't come up in the film. I thought that the kind of passive aggressive tone of the parents came off really well in the film as well, whereas I think in the book the parents were leaning more towards just being aggressive rather than passive aggressive, and I think that worked better for the movie. In the book, because it seems to focus more on that court case rather than Denny and Enzo and the racing, I think them just being like very aggressive and very hostile works better for that storyline. Whereas in the book, them being more passive, in the film, them being more passive aggressive and going, you know, we want to work with you here, we want what's best, but you know, really not being very nice, works really well in the movie. So there are a couple of major differences between the book and the movie. I think that script-wise and plot-wise, apart from, you know, the difference that I mentioned in the court case, they can stick together quite well because the book wasn't terribly long. I think the audiobook was only like 6 hours. So in terms of condensing that down into stuff that happens on screen, a lot of it was Enzo reporting back on what he'd seen, so all of that can be done visually, so I understand why they would stick to the script. And it was great sort of seeing Enzo brought to life on the screen as well. I really enjoyed seeing that. So yeah, so I will talk about my actual thoughts on the film in this week's movie reviews video, and then I will have another book versus movie video for you very soon. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. If you have any other book to movie adaptations you would like to see me talk about here on this channel, let me know in the comments. Always happy to watch and read on demand. I will be back with my movie reviews video for you on Sunday, so make sure you are subscribed so that lands in your subscription feed. And I'll be back next week with my monthly wrap up and TBR, and I do have a book haul coming for you soon, so you're not going to want to miss that. Thank you very much for watching. Bye.